welcome to the second and final game of the evening in terms of reviews. Up this time is Blazing Chrome. Now, Blazing Chrome might be a game you've actually heard of. Mainly because Blazing Chrome has been, I hesitate to use the word exploding in popularity, but it's getting a lot more notice in the wider world than I would have expected. Like, having a game like this on our program is it's not too outside of our usual mix. I mean, shit, we just reviewed another retro-styled platform. It's more, this is getting mainstream attention. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that currently this game is free on Game Pass, both Xbox One and PC. So, yeah, it's like if you subscribe to the Game Pass service, you can try this game for no cost right now. But I suppose the question is it worth your time? Well, that depends, because if it's not evident from the footage that is being displayed on the video screen here, Blazing Chrome is a spiritual homage to the great, venerable action franchises of yesteryear, specifically Contra and Metal Slug. Probably some other games in there, but it's like, even by the developer's own admission, Contra and Metal Slug are the big two.
Yeah, it's the side-scrolling shooty-majigs.
Yes, side-scrolling run-and guns, as they call it, to differentiate from the top-down run-and guns, games like Commando and such. But anyway, and this game it's in particular aping the 16-bit Contra games.
The art style is very...
The art style is very much Contra hardcore.
I was going to say, it's very faithfully 16-bit style.
Yeah.
Right. But the game, if you're looking for the specific Contra game that they're aping, it is Contra the hardcore. Because not the Alien Wars. You can tell because the art is a bit grungier and darker in its hues and palettes, and that was a signature feature of the Mega Drive / Genesis.
Yep.
Those games looked darker. They looked dirtier. They looked, they had more of an edge in comparison to their Super NES counterparts. And that was mainly down to the fact that the Super NES could display more colors than the Sega Genesis. Anyway, that being said, this game is a better than perfect recreation of that era. I say better than that because, honestly, if this game were running on 16-bit hardware, like actual 16-bit hardware, it probably would have some horrendous slowdown.
Oh yeah, it does cheat, and ironically, actually, on the Switch version, there actually is a little bit of actual slowdown because of some things that use more physics and particle effects than the Switch can handle.
Yeah.
Right.
Apparently, they're fixing that by replacing some of the stuff with sprites.
Yeah, it's like that's going to be fixed in a patch. I think that's coming out soon. But I'm talking about, if this were on a Sega Genesis, some of the more intense action screens, it wouldn't just be slowdown; it would be intense slowdown.
Yeah, they cheat and do stuff you couldn't actually do in 16-bit, but
actually,
it's how you remember 16-bit being.
Actually, that's not really true. This game isn't using it's like outside of modern particle effects. It's not cheating in the same way that Shovel Knight's cheating.
Shovel Knight didn't even cheat much. It just used a couple of colors that you can't and some Parallax, I think. But yeah.
Trust me. Remember, Shovel Knight.
Shovel Knight was imitating the NES, which is a much harsher set of limitations.
Yeah. But this game is really striving for accuracy in its aesthetic. Like things like the actual art assets, they were done in 240p, which is the resolution of old school systems. I mean, they're upscaled to 720p or 1080p, depending on your display. And since they're sprites, they can get away with that much easier than, say, polygons.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, there are polygons in the game, but that's only like in one level.
Yep.
It's like if the cyberspace level, that could have been theoretically done on these, like the Super NES or the Genesis. That just would have required a special chip and made the game really fucking expensive.
Including Super FX chip for one stage. You sure about that?
Or the MMC2 chip.
Yeah.
That is the chip that gave the Mega Man X2 game its polygon vector graphics.
Yep.
Like, learning is fun. But anyway, the game looks like a 16-bit Contra game. It plays like a 16-bit Contra game. I'd say you do have more options. Because, like, in the 16-bit era, you had the ability to carry up to 2 weapons. In this game, you have the ability to carry up to 4. Or I guess technically 3, because you always have the machine gun.
Yeah.
Or the I hesitate to say machine gun equivalent weapon because, well, I'll get into that a little later. But, you've got your default weapon and you get 3 special weapons. And, much like in like Contra 3, if you die on that special weapon, you lose that special weapon, but if it's stored away, you do not. And the game is also more forgiving than Contra, though not as forgiving as Metal Slug. That is to say, Contra, you only got at the start, about 3 lives, 4 lives. This is not including the Konami code. Not sure exactly if the Konami code's in this game, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was.
I've read on the forum that the developers say there's no code like that in the game. Surprisingly.
I'm actually more surprised at that. It's like it's a Contra alike.
Well, this game does have unlimited continues, and I don't know how many lives it has on hard mode because I didn't unlock hard mode, but you start out with 5 on normal and 7 on easy. So
yeah, probably 3. Like I never tried hard mode. Like no. Game's hard enough.
Yeah, you have to beat the game on normal to even unlock hard mode. So,
which is fairly typical stuff for the modern age.
Yeah,
like I've seen people grumble about this, but it's like Blazing Chrome is not a long game.
No.
I mean, your first playthrough is probably going to be longer than you anticipated because, once again, this is an old school feeling game. It is more forgiving than... Getting back to the whole forgiveness thing, it's more forgiving than Contra. Contra had limited continues. This game has unlimited continues.
This was a good decision because the modern gaming audience is not very forgiving of limited continues.
No, it's like...
I mean, yes, there are fans that'll bitch that there are like hardcore fans that'll bitch that it's baby mode or whatever, but no. Yeah,
it's like... Look, limited continues was actually a holdover from the arcades.
Yep.
Right. The only purpose of limited continues is to make people spend more money on your game.
Yep.
So unless you're going full microtransactions and charging people for continues in your game, don't do this.
And that gets me to Metal Slug, because Metal Slug has unlimited continues and allows you to continue from right where you left off. But that was because it's a literal arcade game design. You died here because they want to suck the quarters out of you. Yeah. This, harkening to more home game design, decided that having a checkpoint system would strike the balance between the two design choices.
Yeah, you have unlimited continues, but you get sent back to the beginning of the chunk of level.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and the game can be basically broken down into like 3 or 4 separate level chunks. And once you get past the boss of that particular area, you will, like, if you continue, you will be able to, continue right from that particular checkpoint.
It also has, at the beginning of the game, you can choose between a few different stages to start with, it looked like. I did the easiest one mostly, and did them in order, but
yeah.
Well, it looks like you could do them in any order if you wanted to.
Up to a certain point. Yeah. Like, you can, I think you have to do stage 1 first, but like the stages 2, 3, and 4, you can do in any order. And also it's worth noting stage 3 is easier than stage 2.
Yep.
Yeah. You can see it on the difficulty selector. Stage 5 and stage 6, they're on. They're the Wily's Castle of this game. I know an odd Mega Man reference, but Contra didn't bother with unlockable levels.
It works.
And also worth noting, this game does include the Contra tradition of having different gameplay segments. Really limited to only one. I mean, the cyberspace level, I guess, but it's not. It's not the total perspective shift that the tunnel level is. The tunnel level chunk. That's something that was much more Contra 3, or even Contra 2. Where it would take a break, or even Contra 1. It's like where you get that. In Contra 1 it was the fortress levels. Contra 2 the top-down levels. Contra 3, the Mode 7 top-down levels. Although, oddly enough, the game that the tunnel level reminded me most of was Super Return of the Jedi.
For a trench run level or something? No, there's no trench run in it. For the Endor speeder bike level?
No, it's for the Death Star escape level.
Oh, right, yeah, that was a thing.
Yeah. I'm like, it's better than that. I never actually
beat that game.
It's better than that, but it's like I'm glad that the tunnel level was kept to just one segment.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I am of the school that didn't like the. I was fine with the fortress levels. It's more the top-down levels of Contra 2 and Contra 3 that I didn't care for. And same deal here, but it's not a deal breaker or anything. Once again, if there is going to be a deal breaker with this game, it's hard. It's very hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said,
you can memorize stuff.
Well, yeah,
but
well, this is a get good kind of game.
Yeah.
Like you're expected to play the levels multiple times to get the enemy patterns down, to get all of the placements down, to strategize for your next run. Like I said, this is a very old school mentality.
Yep.
Brought me back to the fucking Super NES. I'll tell you what.
Same here.
I'm like, yeah, I remember this. Like, how much I enjoy that. Well, it's like I've got a lot more games to play these days, so I'm a lot less tolerant of that kind of game design. But other people do swear by it.
Yeah. It didn't bother me too much.
Now, in terms of replay value, first of all, you start out with 2 characters. I'm trying to remember the lady's name.
Lavra.
Yeah, Lavra there. and you've got the robotic toaster. You know, the plot line of the game is you're fighting against a bunch of sentient robot toasters. I'm like, it's not a game that was really concerned about its plot.
No.
But what changes is the two unlockable characters. They're called melee fighters. And something that's been added to this game is melee attacks. Like Contra and Metal Slug, they were pure shooty bang bang, let's say.
Metal Slug has a knife.
Yeah, that's true. It's like I'd say.
Although actually, the shooty characters in this game have context-sensitive knives too. So.
Yeah, that's what I'm actually getting at.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's like, they've got the Metal Slug knife. I almost forgot about that. For how? Anyway, but the melee characters, their main weapons are swords. I'm like, they can reflect bullets.
Mm-hmm.
So, you unlock one, each of them using the two main characters. Easier if you can do that in co-op. And indeed, this game does have a 2-player co-op feature. Only local. And I'm not too surprised at that.
It makes sense.
Well, okay. It's like, gotta address this again. People continue to whinge about 2D platformer type games not having online co-op. I would hope that Super Mario Maker 2 would show you why a lot of those games don't have that.
Yeah, it's a latency.
Yeah, it's like, you need to make sure that the ping, you need to make sure that the latency on the 2D platformers, especially an action-heavy game like this, has as little fucking lag as possible.
You need to have a really good connection between you and your friend in order to play this game effectively.
Yeah, and that's why it's local only. I'm like, maybe if they were a bigger team, they could pull that off, but that actually takes a lot of resources.
Yep.
I'm like, it's like, this is one of those game dev things that most people don't know about. And it's like the whole solved online thing. Like, but it's like when even Nintendo can't get it right. I know they're not the best at online, but I'm like, this is a thing that gets hard to nail down. Okay, and I did not have the chance to play this co-op because everyone here lives literal states away. But I'm going to presume that it is like it's like Contra, it's like Metal Slug. Having 2 players is much more fun.
Yeah.
That's just standard. Like, the music, once again, the music is another throwback. Real, it's like real pumping action metal tracks. That once, it's like, I know I keep going back to like Contra and Metal Slug and the like, but everything about this game is a love letter to those franchises.
Yep.
It can't be helped. This is one of those retro style games that is very deliberately going after an aesthetic and a game type.
Mm-hmm.
We have had, we featured, games that, have like a retro aesthetic but aren't really going after anything in particular. And then you got games like this where, that's a Contra. It's not called Contra, but that's Contra.
Yep, I was convinced. I was convincedly felt like I was playing a 16-bit game.
Yeah, I'm like, and once again, that's harder to nail than you think it is.
Well, I should rephrase that. I was playing an actual 16-bit game on like a SNES,
well,
something like that.
Well, it's like I would recommend watching the the Digital Foundry video on this game because it explains how they achieve that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, the animations are actual old school animation sprites.
Mm-hmm.
They're not like a lot of modern animation, like even 2D stuff, is done using what's called a skeleton system. And that's what allows you to get really elaborate animated 2D games. It's just, if you're going for a retro game, there was not a system on the planet that could do something like that.
Mm-hmm. It would result in pixels being, on at weird angles or whatever.
Right. And once again, and sometimes games games will get close, but we'll use modern techniques to gussy up the game in ways that were just never achievable on original hardware. This game is definitely one of the closest I've ever encountered in the modern era to throw back to that retro age.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got everything down to it's got CRT filters. I'll be honest, I really don't care for CRT filters.
Me neither.
But there are those who like them. Let's see. So pricing. This is going to be a curious one because, once again, if you're a Game Pass subscriber, the game is free right now. Go and download it, now. The game on, say, Steam, to actually buy, it's clocking in at $16.99. $17, which is kind of an unusual price. I'm like, $17 for this? It's kind of a hard recommend because it's a really good game, one of the best I played this year.
Mm-hmm.
I still can't ignore the fact that it's only 6 levels, and it's got some replay value. It's got it's got leaderboards. It's got higher difficulties. It's got different play styles. I'm still this is still a very short game, and I would have paid a lot more for this back in, say, 1991 or 1994. Once again, it's not those years.
Nope.
Also...
maybe wait for a sale unless you're super into this kind of game.
Well, yeah. It's like I go wait for a sale unless you're going to like this game because, if you don't have the sensibilities for this kind of action platformer running gun combination, you're not going to get a lot of value out of it.
Yeah.
This game has a very specific audience, and it knows what it wants to do. It knows what it's targeting, and if you're not part of that club, it's made some concessions, but it's it's also not going to be Wii era Nintendo, where it'll provide you with an invincible gorilla to get through the stage either. I know a lot of arguments about accessibility have flared up recently, and I think that this game is about as accessible as it can be, while still being the thing that it is. But that's kind of a conversation for a different day.
Yeah.
And no, not this Wednesday either. Maybe next week. We'll see. Anyway, so at current price, I say approach with caution. As a game, on the scale of arbitration of numerical values, 8.5 out of 10. Like I said, it's one of the better games I have played this year. Not the best, but probably going to get at least top 5, I'd say.
Yeah.
What about you guys? What did you think?
I really enjoyed it. I had a fun time with it. What I've played, of course. And
I'm
basically, if you like Contra, get this.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty bad at this kind of game, but I still had a lot of fun with it. So I think it's probably worth checking out if you think that, like, maybe wait until it's like $15 or less. But even I think if you are really into this kind of game, I don't think the price is terrible.
Right. Also worth noting, for the Nintendo Switch version, wait until the patch comes out.
Well, I mean, it's not like you don't get the patch when it comes
right.
out. But
I'm just saying, if you want to play it now on your Switch, you're gonna have to deal with that slowdown.
Mm-hmm. But Adam, the slowdown gives it enhanced authenticity. I'm kidding, but it would have actually been like that.
Right. It's it is a really good game. Mm-hmm. Also worth noting that Limited Run Games is planning to do a physical edition of this. I know at least the Switch. I think PlayStation 4 as well. It's like the usual systems. It's just if you want to get that, make sure you are on the Limited Run website the exact second it goes up for pre-order.
Yep.
I mean, I like Limited Run. We've had them on the show. I just don't really care for the actual model because it's like, if you're not there, you're out of luck.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so that'll about do it for the Fragments of Silicon reviews for the week. Coming up on the week ahead, on Wednesday, July 24th, we have George Sanger of Team Fat returning to the program. We're going to delve more into his career. Once again, that could run the entire length of the program. It's happened before. It's just been a while since we had a guest with this storied of a career.
Yeah.
Let's see. On Friday, July 26th. So, we're trying to have our good friend Benjamin Anamuse from Now Forever Entertainment on the program, but their marketing department hasn't signed off on the interview yet. We are anticipating a delay, but we haven't heard back from him yet. So, if we do have a delay, it's probably going to be a few weeks. It's like I'm not working on my birthday. We'll probably have an update on that situation on Wednesday. So until then, I shall wish you good gaming.